Hello, my name's Paul Simon. I'm the Head of Public Affairs at Suffolk Chamber of Commerce, and I'm joined by Matt Moss. Matt is a board director of the Chamber. He's also chair of the Chamber's Economy Group and is the MD of Smart Garden Offices, a growing manufacturer based in West Suffolk. Matt, we're here to talk about the latest quarterly economic survey results for the last quarter of 2022. The picture painted is pretty dire. Many of the indicators that the survey records are at their lowest point for 5 or 6 years. Core business metrics, cash flow, turnover, profitability are deeply in negative territory. Increasing concerns about inflation and the impact of price rises on business margins, but also we're beginning to pick up concerns about the impact of taxation, corporate taxation, and increases in those over the last few quarters on businesses. From your perspective as a senior member of the Chamber, what does this tell you?
Paul, thank you for the introduction and the opportunity to speak. I think it just demonstrates what we've been talking about for quite some time, and it shows that we've got yet still challenging times ahead for our businesses, not just in Suffolk, but throughout the Great Britain. We've seen these signs for a long time. You know, we were talking about these signs back at the back end of Q4 of 2021, where our businesses were reporting to us that they were starting to see embedded inflation, price rises, raw material cost rises. So it's not surprising in one respect, but it's disappointing on another that more action hasn't been taken, given that we've been able to report this for such a long time now. And I think the challenge really for businesses is how much can they take? How much longer can they continue down this road where the upfront costs of running a business continue to spiral, in many cases out of their control? You know, wage inflation, energy price rises, raw material price rises, you know, everything seems to be going up. And there is obviously a limit to how much businesses are able to then pass these costs on. And of course, all that then means is that the margins get squeezed. And of course, when margins get squeezed, the worrying thing is that businesses don't grow. They don't create new opportunities for employment. They don't invest in their businesses. And that is preventing us as a country, us as a county, and us as individual business owners from recovering from the challenges that we've faced throughout, you know, post-pandemic, post-Brexit, and the turmoil that we've seen with the cost of living rises. You know, businesses are not able to recover from that. And if they have managed to recover, they're not now able to take the next step, grow, aspire, you know, do more. And that for me is the biggest concern, because if we're not careful, you know, any businesses that can't innovate, can't grow, can't invest gets left behind, and any business that gets left behind ultimately runs the risk of failure.
With your management team own, as I mentioned earlier, sort of a growing manufacturing business. The data from the latest quarterly economic survey shows that manufacturers in particular are the hardest hit. Can you just give an idea as to the realities of galloping inflation, increasing tax burdens placed on you by government? What is it doing specifically to your company?
Yeah, I mean, we're being hit by every angle, and I'm sure there are many businesses that are facing similar challenges. Raw material, we've seen increase in some elements of our business by 300%. That's not a sustainable level of increase. We're not able to pass that on. And you know, there's a multitude of external influences that have made that increase come through. And we have the challenge of, you know, growing at the same time as seeing raw material prices increase. So for us, it's a double impact. And yes, that hits cash flow. That's hard. And we are having to manage that. But there are lots of things that we should be doing, could be doing to really accelerate our growth. that we just are not able to do. We can't invest how we want to invest because we're being stifled by external factors. You know, add on to that the demand on wage inflation. You know, we are doing our utmost to ensure that we are doing our part, but where does that stop? Where do employers' responsibilities end in terms of ensuring that people are able to, you know, feed their families, heat their houses? You know, we have a duty to deliver, you know, employment to to ensure that our staff are paid appropriately.
Can I just come in and interrupt? You said where does our responsibility as the business community start and end? And I think by implication, where does government's responsibility extend? There are those in Westminster and Whitehall who say, well, this is a global issue. There's very little policy levers that they have available. And therefore, in a way, the amount of intervention and support from government is probably at the margins. Now, I wonder, A, how you feel about that as a general principle, but B, also, given that, you know, in the next couple of working days or so, we're due to hear what the government's second iteration of the energy bill relief scheme will look like. And the messaging is it'll be cut back severely. Do you think the government should do more? Do you think with that scheme, that's in government's control, that actually it should be as generous as the first wave of support in order to help businesses get over the next 12 months and therefore be able to recalibrate their business plans and continue with their investment plans in the longer term?
I don't see what has changed from a government perspective in terms of why that strategy should change. You know, the cost of energy is still, for many businesses, completely unsustainable. And the risk that we run if we do not support businesses is that businesses will struggle and will fail. It's as simple as that. You add on to that the other additional costs that they're having to take on board. Now, the government are looking at increasing corporation tax. So they are going to be recovering quite a significant amount of money from that from those businesses that are profitable. So it's not like they haven't got a plan to recover money from businesses. There is, but that's in itself another challenge because it's all being placed on businesses. You know, the cost is all being burdened by business. So, you know, they have to assess it. What's better for us as an economy? You know, as a national economy. You know, you lose businesses, you lose employment. You know, that puts pressure on, you know, the government in a different way in terms of you know, social responsibility, in terms of benefits, unemployment costs. So, you know, where they may be trying to save on one hand, they could consequently create a situation that costs them more money on the other hand. So I think the government should take a very, very good look at this and really try to understand that, you know, all businesses, not any particular sectors, all businesses, you know, that have an energy use are affected by this. And therefore, you know, any help that they are able to maintain, you know, should be maintained. Because if they don't, I don't think they're looking far enough in the future to see the consequences of those actions of withdrawing that or even, you know, adjusting it.
We as a chamber, as you know, have written to the 7 Suffolk MPs, urging them to put pressure on Jeremy Hunt to ensure that the new energy bill relief scheme is as generous as, or as effective, I should say, as the initial one. They'll obviously be doing a certain amount of sort of political calculations as to how effectively they land those messages. As a leading member of the chamber, as an entrepreneur, what would your message be to the Suffolk 7 in terms of how hard they push the case for proper energy support over the next 12 months for businesses in their communities?
I would say this is one cost that all businesses have. It will affect everybody. So anything they can do, as hard as they can push it, I think they must push it, because if they do not just Suffolk, but nationwide, the outlook is already quite bleak for businesses. So we have to do what we can to support where we can for things that are completely outside of our control. And that is one element that, yes, it might be outside of the government's control, but they are able to do something about it. Businesses are not able to do anything about it. It doesn't matter whether they put in offset plans, whether they do carbon reduction, whether they try and use renewable energy. All of that comes at a cost. Right now, at this moment in time, businesses do not have the ability to do that. And therefore, we do need the government, we do need the Suffolk 7, to push back and do what's right for the economy, right for business, and right for the longer term.
Matt Moss, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome.